lack of knowledge. Though we know there is a day to come, but how much we know about that? Because the more you know about the details of the day, of that day, about how much reward is there, how much and severe punishment is there, the more you know about these things, the stronger your iman in these things become. So we have to cure the problem of ignorance and lack of knowledge. And that is cured by learning more about the Day of Judgment and the details of what happens on that day. The other problem many Muslims have is the neglectfulness. You know, they don't care much, and they need to be reminded. The Prophet ﷺ said, describing Iman, he said that Iman with time loses its lust and it fades in the hearts of believers. So you need to revive your Iman. He gave the example of a new dress. You know, a new dress with time would lose its brightness and its lust and start to fade. So we need to keep reviving Iman in our hearts. So these are the two problems that we're having. The lack of knowledge, and this is cured by learning more about the day after, and the neglectfulness, and that is to be treated by keeping or reminding ourselves always about the Day of Judgment. And we hope through these series of talks we provide as much as possible of these two issues: more knowledge about the details of the day after, and a kind of reminder to ourselves and our brothers and sisters about that day.
Jazakallah Shaykh for being with us here today and introducing and explaining us with the remindful information about the Day of Judgment and the hereafter.
If you allow me, I just want to add one more point that
Yes,
is crucial and important here. Just to emphasize that the issue is not only about knowledge, it's about Iman. And that means we need to keep reminding ourselves with the Day of Judgment and the Jannah and Nar. When you read in Quran, in how many places we find mention of Jannah and Nar? One or two places?
Many places.
Many places. Now if it's a matter of knowledge, just for people to come that there is Jannah and there is Nar, it's probably then would be sufficient, as we read, in some, textbooks in schools, if it's a matter of teaching or just giving the knowledge, okay, we can devote a few pages or a chapter for this and we explain all about it, and that's it. And then whenever people need to know something, they go back to that. But this is not the case in Quran. We find that the mention of Jannah is almost in every surah, and sometimes it's even repeated in the same surah. So it's not only a matter of knowledge, that just for people to know. People need to be reminded. So when we read through the Quran, from the first page to the last page, we come across Jannah and Nar and the day after again and again and again. And this is what I mean, that we need to revive Iman in our hearts. And probably the best way to do this is to, being so attached and so close to the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because this book contains all what we need to know and what we need to remind ourselves with. And probably I also conclude with one more issue. That would in fact set a methodology or an approach for all our coming episodes, inshallah.
Sure.
When we speak about the day after, this is something that is unseen to us. This is the unseen world. So we have to be careful when we talk about anything after death. It is something we have not seen. It is a different life, so we cannot draw analogies between that life and this life. So our only source when we speak about anything after death is the Quran and Sunnah. This is an unseen word to us, and it is very dangerous to come in with our own views and opinions, because how can we do so? So inshallah, throughout these programs and these talks, we will only be referring to the verses in the Quran and the statements of the Prophet ﷺ, and that's the only authentic source. These are the only authentic sources that we can use when we address such a topic the last day.
Well, Jazakallah again, Shaykh, for being with us and giving us all this beautiful information.
وإياكم inshallah, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us among those who listen to speeches and follow the best of it.
Inshallah. So dear brothers and sisters, there was Dr. Kousa with us who talked about the Day of Judgment and explained us what the hereafter is. So please join us again in our next episode where we will be moving ahead in our journey of the hereafter and speaking about death. What is death and what are the happenings of death? وآخر دعوانا والحمد لله رب العالمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
عليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
This program is sponsored by the SPI Charity Foundation.
To God, through which rivers flow. Oh, our Lord, forgive us our sins, accept our faith in the hereafter. Save us there from the hellfire, admit us to Gardens, through which rivers flow, through which rivers